Welcome to the Property Management Law Solutions Podcast. Your host, Attorney Tim Baldwin, will guide you in all things property management, law, markets, politics, and commentary. Your property is his priority. Here's your host, Attorney Tim Baldwin.
Welcome, everybody, to the Property Management Law Solutions Podcast. We have with us today a special guest that I'm really excited to talk with. He's a longtime friend of mine, and he's a guy I've known since middle school. And he and I both live in the same area of town still in Pensacola, Florida. And so I'm really happy that he is with us. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce to everybody Chief Deputy Andrew Hobbs. Andy, I call you. Andy, welcome.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, most people call me Andy. My friends call me Andy. When we were talking the other day, I was like, no, I go by Andy. Andrew is just what they have on my emails, and everything else makes me sound official.
Well, I've seen that. Of course, I see you on news media and social media, and I hear I see people call you Andrew. I'm like, well, I don't know Andrew as Andrew. I know him as Andy. So anyway, we go way back. We play in baseball in Bellevue Little League and Pine Forest High School and that sort of thing.
Absolutely, we have known each other. When you think about it, I was thinking about it the other day. I was thinking, wow, we are really getting old.
Yeah. Tell me about it. I think about that more frequently nowadays. In fact, I just turned 46 this week. And
Right.
So here we are, Andy, just chugging along here. So, but anyway, so yeah, Andy, let's jump into this. So for folks who don't know you, why don't you give a little brief background of kind of what you've done in your career and where you are now?
Yeah, born and raised here in Pensacola, Florida. Went to, like we talked, I went to Pine Forest High School. Came from a single parent home, so I didn't have a ton of money. Getting out of high school, really couldn't afford college. Started at Pensacola Junior College, Pensacola State College now. Dropped out because I had to get a job. Was in sales, things like that. And then someone was like, hey, why don't you become a deputy sheriff? And I was like, not something I thought I would do.
Yeah.
But I went through the academy, graduated top of my class, got hired on the sheriff's office. I've been at the sheriff's office 22 years. I am now the chief deputy of administration. In that time, I have held a lot of different positions here. I've been in charge of PIOs. I've been in charge of dispatch. I've been in charge of Homeland Security when it comes to disaster preparedness, terrorist responses, things like that. I'm the youngest chief deputy the sheriff's office has ever had. So I've been very blessed and had a lot of great opportunities. I went back and got my college education. The sheriff's office paid for it, thank God. So that was good. I'm a graduate of the FBI National Academy in Quantico, Virginia, the National Command and Staff College, FDL Leadership Academy, FDLE Chief of Staff College. So I've done a lot of things, and now I'm over the administration, which one part is civil, which is what we're talking about today, is the civil process portion of it. Sheriffs in the state of Florida are the constitutional demanded people to do those civil process warrants, civil processes, all the things that you can think of are really not as fun as everything else, not as sexy as everything else in law enforcement, but really they're the things that help the majority of our tax-paying citizens every day. So 22 years, been very blessed, have two children, married, two children, a 5-year-old and a 9-year-old. And just love living our community every day. Love working with our community leaders. And when you called and asked me to do this, I was like, absolutely. This is seeing people that I grew up with doing as well as you are. It helps our community see people like us continue to grow and continue to be successful.
Yeah. No, you're somebody that is a role model to the community, and I've really enjoyed getting to see what you've done in your career, and proud of you, really proud of you, Andy. So congratulations on all your accomplishments. It's really great. I'm actually very impressed on everything you've accomplished. So I'm really happy to. Of course, we haven't really talked a whole lot in the past number of years, but you feel like you never sort of step away from those relationships. So.
Absolutely.
Well, let's talk about this. So as you know, our audience is primarily landlords and property management companies. Of course, that's what we do at our law firm is we represent landlords and property management companies. And we've done this for, I've done this for over 20 years now. And so, you see things in the realm of, landlords and processes and how you deal with tenants, how you deal with, deputies when it comes to turning possession over. Many times there's crime situations that happen at rental properties. And so we see a lot of questions in regards to how these things interplay with each other. And so, that's one of the reasons, Andy, I thought it'd be great to have you on the show to sort of give listeners sort of the ideas here that we're dealing with and some of the realities that you guys deal with on a day-to-day basis. So let's just kind of dive into this. So the first of all is, when you talk about, crimes happening in the community and then some of these crimes happening in rental properties, how would you say landlords can or should interact with law enforcement when there's a suspected crime on one of the rental properties?
So you have multiple ways you can really address it. If you don't want to be directly involved, you can use Crime Stoppers. You contact Crime Stoppers, you give a tip saying, hey, this crime is being committed at A, B, and C. If you think drug dealing's going on, if you think certain things are going on and you don't want to be directly involved in that reporting, you can use Crime Stoppers. It's anonymous. And if it comes out, you can make a little money here and there too, if that's what you're looking to do. Or you can contact the sheriff's office. We have a couple different aspects. Patrol, our normal patrol guys who will come out and engage, try to figure out what's going on. We have narcotics. I get contacted by landlord and business owners every day about, hey, I think there's some drug activity. Hey, I think there's this. And what we'll do is we'll bring narcotics involved. We'll have narcotics go take a look. They're in unmarked vehicles. They don't look like cops. They know what they're looking for. We can look at different evidence that we're able to obtain by just being around the building, watching in and coming and goings, things like that to determine if there's narcotics. So there's some different aspects. We also have community services. Our community services deals with a lot of the homeless issues, a lot of homeless on people's properties, but also deals with some of the other nuisance issues, narcotics, things like that. So you have different aspects of how that can happen. So you can contact the sheriff's office. You want to be directly involved, which usually makes it easier. We're not going to tell people where we got the information from, but if an arrest is made, we have to then tell them where it came, because we can't have an anonymous tip.
Yeah.
The only way you can do that is through Crime Stoppers. It's one of those things the state statute allows. But so you have different options. And, here's the thing. If you think something's going on at one of your properties, especially drugs. Now, if it's a violent crime occurring, call 911. We'll be there immediately.
Yep.
But if you think it's a lot of the calls we get from rental properties is drugs, drug transactions, drug dealing, those different things, kind of persons that they don't think are great quality people. They think something's going on.
Yeah.
You can call us. We'll look into it. Now if it's a narcotics issue, it might take us a month, 2 months to get into that house, because I tell everybody the Constitution of the United States is a very tricky thing. And if you're going to do it correctly and you want to make sure arrests stay where they're supposed to, especially when it's drug dealing, it takes a little bit to build a case, to have those little nuances to get a search warrant to get into the house, because getting a search warrant to get in someone's house is difficult, as it should
Yes.
be.
Yep.
You don't want to be able to just get anything to go kick in someone's door. You want there to be a clear line of probable cause.
Yep.
And so it takes a little time sometimes. And, I think that sometimes property owners and landlords get a little upset with us because it takes a little while. But here's the thing. If you call us and one of our guys or girls, one of the men and women in the sheriff's office do not answer the questions you want, you can always ask for a supervisor. And that supervisor is going to sit down and explain to you every step of the way. If you call the sheriff's office and ask to speak to me, I will explain to you where we're at every step of the way, because it's your property. You have right to know where your property is and where you're at in that.
What would you say are maybe some mistakes or mistaken beliefs that landlords have, really that they shouldn't be doing when they suspect, let's just say, drug activity going on?
They should not engage those people. That is the biggest mistake I see landlords make often, is that because they're like, hey, this is my property. Like, you're leasing it from me, but it's still mine. And they want to go snoop around. They want to go and get, first of all, if someone's involved in criminal activity, I'm going to say that they're probably not the people you want to go in and confront.
Yeah.
It's just not going to go well. It's going to end up there. Usually there's violence that goes along with drug dealing. That they just go hand in hand. Lots of money, violence, guns, drug dealing. It
Yeah.
all kind of goes together. Also, don't tip them off that you know. If you really want us to handle it, ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
If they don't know we're looking at them, they don't know that you think there's something going on, then it gives us a fighting chance to get in and find out what's truly going on and that we can fix the problem for you.
Yep.
And get, if that is a problem there, we can get them out of there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
I think sometimes is the overall, you know what, I'm going to go handle this. No, 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 no. Don't do that. You're going to put yourself in a bad spot. But what happens if it's not true? What happens if you run over there and you say, "Hey, y'all are selling drugs," and now this person is going, "Well, why do you think I'm a drug dealer?" It just opens up different doors. It's just let the people that deal with it every day deal with it in the proper manner.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And one situation I see frequently, especially seems like it happens more so in apartments, is when you have noise and disturbance complaints, and many times for property managers, it's difficult to determine who's at fault, how bad is the situation, because many times whenever it gets to the point where property managers go over there and they inspect or they try to see what's going on, it's already dispersed. You don't know who's doing what. So from that standpoint, how would you say it's best to handle those types of complaints?
In a lot of situations, in a lot of apartments nowadays, they have a security officer. That is a big trend now. We get requests every day of different apartment complex that want a deputy sheriff to live there, and that's usually a part of the deputy sheriff's job. Is if there's just noises, things like that, they'll call them. They'll go over there, or lockouts, things like that. They go over there. If you're having noise complaints and things like that, call the sheriff's office. You can just happen to show up when the sheriff's office is there, and then you have someone there with you so that you're not being targeted by these people that are upset. That because you never want to inject yourself, especially in domestic violence situations. Domestic violence situations are one of the most dangerous situations for sheriff's officers
Mm,
and law enforcement throughout the United States because tensions are so high. Those two people are fighting, but when you inject yourself into it, you become the enemy of both of them. So
yes.
now the two people who were just fighting, yelling, screaming, throwing stuff, have now turned and now they're on you. And it's not something you should really get yourself into. The sheriff's office is more than willing to come to any noise disturbance, noise complaint. And as you're a manager, you'll see us driving up. You can just show up with us if you want to. We're probably going to ask you to step back until we figure out what's going on. But after that, and if you're going to do whatever you're going to do by your policy or state statute you want to do as being a property manager, then we'll be there for a standby at that point. So it's safer. It's just safer for you, and it gives you a bit more cover because we're there, and they're going to be more upset with us than anybody at the apartment complex. I assure you that. That is a common theme that they're going to be mad at us because we had no business coming, even though they were the ones causing the disturbance.
Yeah. Now, whenever it comes to the point where one of the deputies may have determined who is, the culprit, who might be the offender, maybe an arrest is made, and now the landlord, they know that something's happened, but they need, evidence to be able to enforce the lease, enforce tenant obligations. So, are landlords able to get that information from the sheriff's office?
Absolutely. You can do a public records request. We have made it even easier. You can go on our website. There's a drop down box that says public records request or arrest request, and you can request those. We can email it to you. You can come to the front desk, ask for it. We'll print it up, hand it to you. We have to redact certain things like victim's name, social security number, things like that. But you'll have the report. You'll know the suspect's name. You'll know the address. So you can put two and two together if we have to put the victim's name out, social security, date of birth, things like that. But you'll have it in hand, absolutely.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's helpful many times because, the lease agreements, at least the ones that I draft, and attorneys who do this line of work, is putting in lease provisions that upon arrest, that is a violation, as opposed to having to wait for a criminal conviction. So having that arrest record is really important. So that's good to know, and it's great to hear that it's easier, I guess, for landlords to be able to get that information. What about? Well, I know you're aware of this, but the legislature recently amended, and Governor DeSantis signed into law amendments to Florida Statutes Chapter 82, which is our unlawful detainer, slash squatter. People kind of call that squatter now for a long time. So that's been amended to where, property owners who see that there's someone living in the property or occupying their property who they're not a tenant, they shouldn't be there, they don't know how they got there. That process has now been made easier when the property owner goes to the sheriff's office and files this affidavit, a complaint of removing. So speak a little bit about that. How has that changed your processes, and what are some of the pitfalls or the problems you see when property owners go to do that?
It has absolutely helped us quite a bit. That has been with our community services, our neighborhood engagement team. We deal with a lot of those issues, squatters in homes, issues with those things. And in the past, we've been fighting and fighting and fighting, because then you have to help the landlord or the property owner find out who these people are. Then they have to go through the eviction, which is ridiculous. They never signed anything with you, but how the laws were set up at one time, it was just a problem. Now we have you sign the document, the affidavit saying these people have never leased from you. Da 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 da. We walk in, we tell them to go. If they don't go, they go to jail. It's pretty simple, and it is done every single day.
Yeah.
It is done, and I will tell you this: the amount of squatters has come down since that law was put in place. But we still have some issues. Recently, I went out and dealt with one myself over in a neighborhood off of 72nd. They had a house that had been foreclosed upon. The owner decided to leave. Well, it was owned by a mortgage company out of New York, I believe. Well, I'm trying to help this community because they have issues with squatters in this house. Well, the mortgage company doesn't want anything to do with it. The mortgage company's like, hey, we'll deal with that down the road. But when we have local or even companies that have the ability to sign that affidavit for us, it makes our lives so much easier. It lets the deputies handle. We dealt with one 2 weeks ago over in Myrtle Grove. Person died, left the house to family members. They hadn't had time to go over there and really deal with it yet because of the death. And some homeless people had moved in, signed the affidavit. We walked over there, told them to get out. They didn't. We put them in jail.
Yeah.
It is as simple as that.
Yeah.
It is your property. And then now with the governor's new law, and as long as you sign that affidavit, which protects us, protects our deputies, so we're not violating people's civil rights, we do it. We remove them every day.
I think it's a great statute for property owners. I have lost business, though, I will tell you, because it used to be that I got a lot of those cases, hey, I got someone living there and, get them out. And so now with this, of course, I tell people when they come to me, it's like, look, if you can swear an affidavit to the following facts, you don't need me. So I'll just tell people to go to the sheriff's office. But of course, that statute does have limitations. If they're family members or if they're, were a tenant, or arguably there's an agreement in place. I would imagine if you guys, okay, that raises the question. So you go to the property, you approach the occupant, and they say, hey, I'm a tenant. And you say, well, can you produce a lease agreement? And they say, well, no, it was a verbal agreement. Well, how do you handle that situation?
They got to go.
Okay.
I mean, because they'll lie. A lot of these people that are squatters are criminals. So
Yes.
if they say, and if I say, well, who did you have a verbal agreement with? Now I shouldn't say so cut off, they got to go. We're going to do a little bit of investigation. We had the one I was telling about. He says, oh, I had a verbal agreement with a realtor. I said, well, what realtor? He gives us a name of a realtor. We track that down. First of all, the realtor doesn't exist. But if the realtor did exist, we would contact them. We'll do that legwork before we leave, and we'll make sure, because things like that happen. Our bigger issue is when there was a tenant there, and now they have pretty much subleased
Yeah.
that property to someone else, and that complicates it a little bit.
Yeah.
But majority of them understand, the squatters understand, it's just easier to leave at that point when we're there with the new law, unless they have documents in hand or they can give us a name to someone to call that has credibility, they got to go.
Yeah.
So they've tried that. Oh, well, I spoke to such and such. Do you have such and such's number? Well, no. Okay. Well, give me their name, give me their business, and we'll Google. I mean, we have smartphones. It's a pretty simple Google, and you can track those things down. It takes 20 minutes to really confirm that. And by that time, and honestly, the men and women of the sheriff's office deal with people like this every day, lying to them.
Yeah.
Unless they're really, really good liars, you can tell someone who's lying.
Yeah.
And you can also tell that if there's water hooked up, if there's
Yeah.
power hooked up. But now with FPL the way they are, you don't have to show ownership to hook up power. You just go online and set it up.
Right.
So but ECUA is a little different, and ECUA is a great partner with us when we're dealing with these type of things. Like, hey, does someone have garbage here? Does someone have water here? No, they do not. Well, if you're an up and up leasing, you're going to have water. You're going to have all those different things. And honestly, a lot of these people we're dealing with are squatters. They've been squatters other places. We have them in our system
Yeah.
as they've done this 5 or 6 other places.
Right.
So we know what we're dealing with usually.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people who haven't dealt with this before may not realize it, but what you've described is a tremendous service because, before people had to deal with this through the court system and the time delays and the money, the expense is significant. So what you've described is a tremendous revolution in that regard. So I'm sure there's a lot of property owners out there who greatly appreciate your service in that regard. What do you see though when it comes to like damages to these properties? So I would presume, just given the types of people who do that, they damage the property in some way. So how do you see that sort of play out with property owner, or maybe you don't because you step out of it once you get the persons out?
Well, I mean, if we're talking about squatters, if we can prove they did the damage inside the home, they can be criminally charged for that. But the sad part is your landlord or your property manager, they're never gonna get the money back from those people.
Right.
Majority of them are homeless. Majority of them have no money. Majority of them have 5 or 6 other liens on them from other things they've done in the legal system.
Yeah.
But they can be put in jail if we can prove the damage differs. Some we've gone into and the house has been immaculate. They've taken care of the house.
Yeah.
Others,
Good.
they're using it as a flop house. They're using it as a drug house. There's holes in the wall. The toilets are usually always a mess. Broken cabinets, like they just tear things up to tear them up. Like I'm like, what were y'all doing in here? Like, were you living or are you just trying to destroy it?
Yeah.
So the cabinet, I will tell you something that sticks out a little odd in some of these when you're dealing with people who don't care about the property at all. And that's when you know they haven't truly lived there. Because if you don't have anything, money in the game, if you have no ownership of it, you don't care what it looks like. They'll dump garbage inside. They always want to rip the cabinets off the cabinet doors off the cabinets. It's the weirdest thing. You walk into all these ones that you can tell are true squatters, and they've torn the cabinet doors off. And I'm like, I don't understand what the cabinets did to you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like every single one of them. And they also want to dump garbage. Like they just throw their garbage on the floor. Like they don't use a garbage can. They don't use, and so there's things like that.
Yeah.
And the bathrooms are always atrocious. Like it's like,
yeah.
It's
sad. It's hard. I can tell you that a lot of landlords, who are trying to buy properties, and create an income for themselves, they're not making a lot of money. I got to tell you, the profit margins on landlord business is really thin, and so to have just one situation like this could really throw a wrench in your business. So yeah, that's too bad. Of course, they're hopefully they have insurance that could cover. Some policies do cover those types of things. So
my father-in-law has a couple of rental properties here in Escambia County, and he talks to me about it all the time. He was like, the profits aren't where they used to be, and if you have a bad tenant, it can set you back a couple of months.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't have the insurance or you don't have a huge nest egg of you've had these properties, especially people getting into, especially younger people trying to get into the property management or rental property business. You're having to put up so much money up front that you don't have a lot of it sitting down to the side if you have some jerk break into your home. I mean, because that's pretty much what it is, and tear it up.
Yeah. Well, it could be more than a couple of months. And I've seen some situations, especially where, legal action ensues against a tenant. It's caused all kinds of damage and problems. It could be significant.
Oh, yeah.
So
Absolutely.
we talked about, before we got on the show here, how there's a new policy with the sheriff's office, which is sort of based on some rulings that you guys saw in, I guess, Central or South Florida regarding the execution of writ of possession. So as a backdrop, of course, people who are listening probably know, you go through the eviction process, you get your final judgment from the judge, and then the clerk's office issues a writ of possession, and then they'll assign it to a deputy to go out there and post the writ on the door to remove them, to give them notice that they're going to remove the tenant. So it in my experience, and I've been doing this for almost 20 years exclusively with landlord-tenant law. And in my experience, it's been they post the writ on the door, and then 24 hours later they come back and they remove them. But now that I think that's changed. So give the listeners a bit of an update on what that change is and what's it based on.
In protecting the sheriff's office and also protecting the landlord. So these tenants, because honestly, if a tenant has taken you down these roads that you're having to do all this, they're clearly a problem. They're clearly looking for legal loopholes. So what we do is we'll get the writ of possession. We'll post it on the most utilized entrance door. So if it's a front door, a side door, a garage door, we determine which door is being used. We put that, and 24 business hours later is when we come back to remove them. So if it's I was speaking to Sergeant Mashburn, who's my sergeant over the civil. Civil, we were talking earlier, civil real quick. Civil, the processes and the case laws and the state laws is such a specialized nuance. We have a Lieutenant Steve Hardy, and a Sergeant Mashburn, along with our deputies and our civilian staff down there, that's all they do. They only deal with these property issues, writs of possession, civil process, domestic violence protection orders, those things, because that's such a specialized nuance, because you want to protect the renter, but also the landlord. You want to protect everybody involved. So it's 24 business hours after posting, and that doesn't including the nights or weekends. So let's just say hypothetically, if you posted it on a Monday morning, we would come back on Wednesday to remove them. And if they're already removed, what the business owner or the property manager is going to need is a bonded locksmith. What we'll do is the bonded locksmith will open the door. Our deputies will clear the inside of the residence, come back out, and at that time, the landlord or property manager is going to need to use that bonded locksmith to change the locks while we're there. And now that is officially, the writ of possession has been taken care of. You now have ownership back of your property. And if those tenants come back, they go to jail for trespassing.
Yeah, that's one thing that having the bonded locksmith, I know from experience, a lot of landlords don't realize that. And so that's an important element here. So what happens if they didn't have a locksmith? What do you guys do? Say, hey, we'll come back, or you have to get a new writ?
We would give you an opportunity to get it done, to get the bonded locksmith there.
Okay.
I think it would really honestly depend on the tenant. Is the tenant going to come back and push it?
Yeah.
Because theoretically, the writ of possession is the writ of possession. They're gone, but we can't give you official ownership of it until you do the proper steps, until we walk through, clear it out, make sure there's no property, make sure there's people are out, all those things. So you really haven't taken it. Another issue we see sometimes is that landlords who get this writ of possession will post it, and before we get there, they want to kick in the door. Well, you've now opened yourself up to certain legal issues.
Yeah.
If the tenant pushes it,
Right.
Let's just say hypothetically the tenant's still in the house when you kick the door. Well, now you've just committed a burglary.
Yeah.
Or trespassing at the minimum. So
Yes.
just let us get there. Let us go through the process. Our process is protecting you and us and the tenant. So it's protecting everybody. If we just go through the proper steps, and I understand, trust me, I understand that you want your property, you want to check on it, you want to make sure so that you can get it rented, so you can start making income again, because you haven't been making income because the jerks haven't paid any money anyway. And that's why you have to go through this whole process.
Yeah.
So if we do it, and we have a whole unit, as I'm telling you, and we also now have to serve those sometimes on Saturdays. We are doing a lot more things than we did pre-COVID. Post-COVID has changed the dynamics of things a lot.
Mhm.
And so Governor DeSantis has helped in some of those things, but there's a process in place. Just let us do the process in place. It's going to protect you. It's going to protect us, and it should work seamlessly. But we are on your side. We are on the side of the landlord. We are on the side of the tax-paying citizens. We are there to help you. You just have to let us go through the process, the proper process to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And same thing with us. When we advise clients, we tell them, here's the proper protocol, here's the law, here's the procedures. Do it the right way. We'll get possession, do it the right way, avoid liability, avoid the tenants going and getting an attorney who can come in and really throw a wrench in the case and stop everything. And now you're waiting even longer to get possession. So that's it's definitely good advice. What about the issue of, I know the statute allows landlords to request the deputy stand by. I think they have to pay some hourly fee or something like that to keep the peace. Because a lot of times landlords will want to try to remove all that property to the property line. So do you see that commonly where deputies are requested to stand by or not really?
Sometimes, and if it's reasonable amount of time, our civil process officer will stand there. If it's going to be 30 minutes, they have paperwork to do anyway after they get it done. They have to do some things, so it gives them time. Um, the sheriff's office is very um, receptive to the needs of our community, and we're going to bend over backwards. And if we have some of those situations, we've had some of them where I'll send community services who doesn't have to answer calls for service. They can run over there and sit there for an hour. Now, if you need someone there 5 or 6 hours, then you're probably going to need to hire an off-duty deputy, because I can't have a deputy just sit at one position for 6 hours.
Yeah.
Escambia County answers between 299 and 325,000 calls for service a year. So
Wow.
we're a very, very busy agency. And that civil process officer, that civil deputy, is doing that one. And then when he leaves there or she leaves there, she's going to have to go do another one. So it delays everything, but they're willing to stay an hour, an extra hour, 30 minutes to an hour to help you get that stuff taken care of. But if it needs to be longer than that, you're probably going to need to schedule something to help you.
Yeah. So that's a pre-planning question, I guess, for the landlord. Say, hey, if you suspect that you're going to have, some time here to have to get everything out, go ahead and pre-plan, schedule an off-duty officer to come help stand by and get the stuff out at that time. So that's good information for folks. Let's move on to Andy. Let's move on to the crime prevention through environmental design. So this has to do more with multifamily, of course, but there's a new statute that was passed that helps protect landlords, multifamily landlords, which is 5 units or more on the same parcel, with liability whenever crimes happen on the property. So this is called crime prevention through environmental design. So these landlords have to take these steps per that statute, locks on the door, peepholes, lighting, visibility, gates, the signage, these types of things. And I know they have to be certified. So does your office help train or engage in that process of certifying these landlords?
Well, we have multiple certified law enforcement officers and civilians here at the Escambia County Sheriff's Office. So that is a free service we provide to landlords. If you contact the Sheriff's Office, Community Services, David Craig, Lisa Parrish, Lieutenant Pat Frazier, Deputy Ken Simmons, we'll come out to your apartment complex, your duplexes, and we'll do the whole thing for you.
Wow.
We'll give you a whole report. And we're going to see things you may not see. And I believe I always like a second party to come out, because it just leaves. It's just like when we have officer involved shooting. We could investigate our own officer involved shootings, but we have FDLE come in and do it. So it's always better. And there is some companies out there I know that are making money doing this because the sheriff's office can't do them all. But if you contact the sheriff's office and you need us to come out, we do it for residential, for homes, just regular homes. If somebody wants us to come do a SEPTED evaluation for their home, we'll do that for free too. But if you have an apartment complex, we've done multiple apartment complexes already here, multiple duplexes here. We'll also come out and explain to your tenants what we did, what it looked like if you want us to, absolutely free. So we have invested a lot of time and money in making sure that we have personnel here that are certified to the newest standards, which was a little more. When this all came out, they added a couple more things for law enforcement to be certified in for this. So all of our personnel that do that have gone through all of it and are very, very experienced in it, from schools. We do it for schools. We do it for apartments, duplexes, residential areas, retirement homes. We do it quite often.
Wow.
So it's a simple phone call to us. We'll be out within, we'll schedule it, and we'll be out usually within a couple days of you calling us. We can get it knocked out in a couple hours, because if it's a big place, we'll bring more people in. If it's a smaller one, one person will do it. So it is a service we provide to the community for free.
That's phenomenal. That's great information. I didn't realize that. I mean, I just not too long ago did a podcast with a company that does this. And they do charge, and I would imagine they charge quite a bit. So the fact that you guys are offering this to the community like that is just outstanding. As you were speaking, I'm thinking, this could be a really cool community event that we could invite. Hey, if you're a landlord, we're going to host this event, and we're going to go through here's what you need to do. Here's what we're looking for. If you need us to go to the property, come talk to us after the seminar or something like that. So that's
a great idea.
outstanding. Yeah,
That's a
absolutely.
great idea.
That's really, really good. What about, we're kind of coming up on our 30 minutes, Andy. I told you we'd try to do this in 30 minutes. What about, one of the more serious issues that I see, and unfortunately it can result in either domestic violence or unfortunately murder. I mean, we've seen this in our community where you have a tenant living in a property, and the boyfriend, typically it's the boyfriend who's not living there, or it's not a tenant, but they're frequenting the property. And maybe unbeknownst to the property manager, there's problems going on, but then it escalates to the point that it appears to be a serious problem. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, there's restraining orders, maybe both from the property management standpoint and the tenant, trespassing these people. But obviously the goal here is to get in front of what could ultimately be a really bad situation. Can you speak a little bit to that and sort of what we should be looking for, and when do you think is the time to say, hey, we think law enforcement should be involved in this situation?
Anytime you think violence is involved, you should get us involved. If you think, so there's a couple things there. The most difficult thing here is that if a person is leasing the property and they continue to invite this person over, I can't trespass warn them because they are giving them authority to come see them. So that makes a problem. If there's a domestic violence protection order, that simplifies things for us. If they show up, even if if a judge says, if this person goes and gets a protection order, and then like 6 days later, which happens often, sadly, 6 days later decides they don't want the DVI anymore. Well, they never went down there and tried to get it removed. This person comes back over, we arrest that person.
Mm-hmm.
Because a judge has ordered a domestic violence protection.
Yeah.
It happens every single day. That being said, there is a lot of the Favor House, there's a lot of different organizations out there that can step in and help someone being abused if they want the help. A lot of situations, sadly, and you're right, it's usually the boyfriend or a husband, but they're usually the breadwinner. They're usually the one bringing the money in. So the other half of this feels like if they put this person in jail, then they're not going to be able to pay the bills and the children are going to struggle. So that there's some nuances there you have to get through. But if a landlord or a property manager has a property and they think that there's domestic violence or some violence going on, they can contact us and we will get involved immediately. We'll get DCF to Department of Children and Family if there's children involved. We have questionnaires. We talk to people. We deal with this a lot. So there'll be some evidence there when we get there. Even if they don't really want to tell us, we can bring services, wraparound services to them and really try to help them. I think the harder question in this situation is how much is the landlord going to put themselves at risk?
Mm-hmm.
If they think that violence is occurring and it's to continue to happening, when are they going to decide enough's enough? I can't help this person anymore because they don't want help. Because sadly, that happens a lot because of all these issues I talked about. And that landlord's going to have to decide, you know what, enough's enough. I need to start the eviction process. Because at the end of the day, you have to look after yourself too. I mean, we've seen some lawsuits recently on landlords about people getting shot and things like that. So I think that the landlords have to be mindful of those lawsuits that have been out there recently.
Yep.
That you can only do what you can do. And if someone doesn't want help, now I don't know the nuances of all those other cases, but I'm just talking about what you're speaking of. You can contact us. We have mental health unit. We have more resources at the Escambia County Sheriff's Office than most agencies do because the Sheriff Simmons has courtesy, integrity, professionalism. But he said when he got elected, he said we're going to do enforcement and engagement like this community's never seen. We meet our community where they need us, and we will get them. If we don't have the services here, we will get them the services there. And if that means a landlord or a property manager is calling us saying, hey, I believe there's things going on, we will fully investigate that, bring services. But we're also going to be able to tell you, hey, this person doesn't want help. We believe in transparency. And if this person doesn't want help, if this person's, let's just say, sadly, this is a sad situation. We have situations where a person has been arrested 5 or 6, 7, 8 times for putting their hands on somebody, but they keep bringing them back. There's that, you have to break that cycle. And that cycle can't be broken until that person feels empowered enough or they decide they've had enough.
Mm.
So you can only support them to a point, and then they have to make some decisions themselves too. So, and it's a hard decision to make for them in a lot of cases, because again, it's where most of their money's coming through. They've been together for 20 years. They have children together. So it's a tough road for, especially for a property manager or landlord to get involved in. It's better to report what you see and know and let us step in and deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. It's great information. Well, Andy, you've covered a tremendous amount, things that I've learned today. I'm glad we talked, and I can go back to the office and let everybody know, hey, we got some changes coming up, so here's what we're going to look forward to. So I greatly appreciate it, Andy. Do you want to close with just some remarks, and we'll be done for today?
Absolutely. Yeah. If you're here in Escambia County and you need our assistance, you contact the civil department. You can contact me here at the sheriff's office, ask for Chief Deputy Andy Hobbs, and they'll put you to my phone. My cell phone's on every website in the world, it appears. So, I mean, I'm pretty available. If I don't have the answers, I can find you the answers. It's your sheriff's office. The Escambia County Sheriff's Office is the sheriff's office of these people of Escambia County. We're here to assist you. We're here to help you. It's your property. It's your money, and we're here to help you with that. And I just want people to remember that.
That's great. That's really good. Having that accessibility is unusual. And I know you personally, Andy. I've always thought you were a great guy, even back in the day. You haven't changed, man. I mean, you just kept true to who you are, and you've always been for the people. And I can say that with personal experience. So I appreciate you, Andy.
Thanks, brother.
Absolutely. Well, that's going to do it for the show today. I know that you enjoyed it as well as I did, and we're going to have this video and podcast for you to enjoy and watch and rewatch. So share with your friends and family and folks in the community, and I'm sure we'll talk to Andy in the near future. So thanks for listening, everybody. Y'all have a good one.